All right, today we're going to dive into something pretty profound. It's a way of thinking about hardship and, that feeling of resentment that comes from some really deep Buddhist wisdom. It's a path that honestly challenges our most basic gut feelings about what's fair, what's just, and who deserves our compassion. It asks us to look at everyone, even our enemies, in a completely different light.
I mean, we've all been there, right? When things just are not going your way, when you're struggling, what's the first thing we do? We look for someone to point the finger at. Our boss, our family, maybe just the world in general. It just feels like a natural way to deal with the pain. But there's a catch. This ancient saying really nails it. When we live in that state of hardship, it breeds resentment, and that resentment creates what's called bad karma. It poisons our relationships and kind of traps us in this loop of negativity that's really hard to get out of. And we're not just talking about a bad mood here. This can become a real trap. So let's take a closer look at how this cycle of blame actually keeps us stuck, how it keeps the suffering going. Now, here's what's really fascinating. The source text for this is super clear that this isn't about blaming, politicians or some abstract enemy. This stuff seeps right into our homes. It can turn relationships between parents and kids or brothers and sisters totally toxic until the whole house is just filled with this thick air of blame. So, if this cycle is so common and so damaging, how do you break it? Well, the path we're talking about isn't some small life hack. It's a total paradigm shift, a complete overhaul of how you see the world and pretty much everyone in it. And that path is the way of the bodhisattva. Now, a bodhisattva is someone who is dedicated to becoming enlightened, not for themselves, but for the sake of helping every other being out there. It's a path that's defined by a type of compassion that, frankly, doesn't play by the rules we're used to. And this just lays it out so clearly. Our normal reaction? Blame people, hold on to grudges, and hate the people who hurt us. The bodhisattva path completely flips the script. Give to your enemies the same way you'd give to your friends. Let go of past grievances. And then there's the big one. Do not hate anyone, not even the person you think is the worst human being on the planet. Okay, so you're probably thinking, how is that even possible? It sounds superhuman, right? Well, the practice starts with an idea called bushi, which means giving. But it's way more than just writing a check to charity. This is such a critical distinction. The saying tells us to help people in an immediate crisis, but it warns against trying to cure poverty itself. Now, this isn't about being stingy. It's about recognizing that there's a much deeper law of cause and effect at play here, one that we can't just come in and fix. And that deeper law is karma. The idea is that every person's life situation is the result of this incredibly complex web of cause and effect from this life and past ones. To think we can just swoop in and erase all of that would be to completely disrespect their own personal journey. True compassion has to honor that reality. So giving wisely means understanding something called the three wheels of emptiness. It teaches that the person giving, the thing being given, and the person receiving aren't three separate, solid things. They're all just temporary, interconnected parts of one single event. When you see it that way, the act of giving becomes free from ego, from pride, from any kind of attachment.
Okay, let's get into the most mind-bending part of this philosophy. This is the part that actually makes all this radical compassion make sense. But it requires us to really question the labels we put on everything. And this is the question everyone asks, isn't it? It's the big one. Sure, okay, maybe forgive someone for cutting you off in traffic, but what about truly horrible acts? How can you possibly not hate someone who does something monstrous? This famous vow from the Bodhisattva Kshitigarbha is the ultimate answer to that question. It's a promise to save every single being from suffering, no exceptions. This is what ultimate compassion looks like. It even extends to beings in the deepest hells, because from this perspective, nobody is beyond saving. No one gets left behind. So how can you even get to a place like that? It's grounded in this core idea from the Diamond Sutra. Everything we perceive with our senses is illusory. Now, that doesn't mean the chair you're sitting on isn't real. It means its form, and more importantly, our labels for it, like good or evil, they aren't as solid or permanent as we think they are. Here's an easy way to think about it. The labels we use, good person, evil person, they're like clouds passing through the sky.
Those clouds are real, you can see them, but they are temporary conditions. They are not the sky itself. In the same way, good and evil are seen as passing states, not someone's permanent, unchangeable identity. A person can change. The potential for clarity, what they call Buddha nature, is always there, just like the clear blue sky that's always behind the clouds. So, let's bring all of this home. Once you understand that these labels we use are not fixed, it allows you to develop a state of mind that is just incredibly powerful. There's a reason the Bodhisattva's mind is described as vast. It's because it's no longer trapped in these tiny little boxes of friend, enemy, good, evil. It sees the whole, huge, interconnected picture.
And this right here, this is the goal. To cultivate a mind that looks at every single being, the kind ones, the cruel ones, everyone, with the same unconditional care that a parent feels for their child. A child can mess up, they can do terrible things, but that parent's fundamental love, that doesn't just switch off.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. If we could actually adopt that perspective, even for just a second, to see the person who drives you absolutely crazy as just a struggling member of your own family, well, who would be left to hate? It's a radical idea for sure, but it just might be the only one powerful enough to truly break the cycle.